This is the test procedure for the MaxTech R218PO1 analyzer panel. We're going to test this panel of analyzers in this fixture. First thing we do is we set up the power. We're using a 5.5 millimeter 2.1 OD plug, 9 volts DC, and that plugs into J1, 9 volts DC. Next thing we do is we set up the power supply that powers the analyzers. We only do this once. We turn on S5, which powers the unit. Put our probe in V- and V out positive, and we adjust VR5 for 2.8 volts on our meter. So you can see VR5 gives us our adjustment. We want to tune that. .80 volts. Once that's done, we shut S5 off. And we only do that once per session. Normally we would set up the sensor simulator, but in the quick test we don't need to do that. Next we set up the switches. We make sure all the switches are in the right position before we load the panel. All of these switches are off, and the default position is indicated by the black dot. So all of these are off, these are all on. Main power off. S6 is in our 2.8 volt position, and this one's in the middle position. That's the default position for all the switches. Next we load the panel. So now we're going to load the panel into our test fixture. Take our butterfly nuts off. All 4 butterfly nuts. Be careful not to bend. These are very fragile. We take the panel and we load it with the capacitors up. Not this way, capacitors up. Load it on these 4 screws. They rest on the pogo pins. Now we take our panel, push that down, push it down, put back on our butterfly nuts, that's loaded. Next thing we do is we power up the panel. So now we're going to power up the panel and we'll see all our analyzers turn on. See them all turning on, showing code and null mode. Shut that off. Now what we do is we verify, we turn S5 off, on, And we verify all LCD segments turn on, code version, and they should all end reading null. We can shut that off and then on. LCD code version, null. Do that as many times as you need to. Now we're going to do a null. Null is calibrating all of these analyzers. So what we do to calibrate them is we're going to use these switches up here, SW1 through SW12. We're going to push it, and you'll see the null disappear. Null, 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 null. Then they'll read cal error low. Finish with EO3. Cal error low EO3. Turn that off. Turn that on. Version code cal error low. Cal error low. And finish with EO3. Next we do our front end amp verification. We switch S5 off, and all these switches now go to the sensor sim position. So off, all to sensor simulation position. Now we turn S5 on. We should get cal error high. Cal error high. Cal error high. Switch that off, then on. Code version cal error high, and finish with EO2. And we switch S5 off, S7 through S17 back to null. And we're done. Now we just remove the panel. Remove the panel. And load our next panel for test. Just load our next panel. Put our butterflies back on and do all the same test again. And that's all we do. Thank you.